Build Black Ledge, Westwall's Overflow, and also got a parent interest employee with McDermott. Question really, picking up on a couple of things that Roger said and Ben said, and it was to do with geography and it was to do with the art of the possible. And I wonder, Roger, how much do you accept given the trailblazing success that you've had in Sheffield? No question about it, as a city, it's just way out there in the UK. How much do you accept the idea that Calderdale's geography is holding it back, bearing in mind that art of the possible statement that you made on one of your slides?
Is this working yet? Yeah. I suppose it is the art of the possible, exactly. So, Sheffield has its opportunities, it's a sloping city as well. You can achieve stuff in any place, but it may be, it's not going to be as considerable in a site that's really sloping, a place that's really sloping. But nevertheless, it is the art of the possible, and it is about looking at the urban fabric of the town and going, what are the opportunities here? Where are the potential locations you could hold flow? And I suppose it is possible, it is worth looking at, because of the multiple benefits that you can achieve. I mean, yes, it's not going to be, the proportion of the catchment that's coming down the main river here is relatively small in the town. So it's not going to make a massive hole in the main river flood issue, but it'll have maybe surface water flood risk benefits, combined sewer overflow benefits potentially as well. I don't know the network here. Art of the possible is the word to continue to use, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
We've got another question, please.
No, that actually answered. That was very similar to my question, so that's fine. Thank you.
Just wondering if anyone's had any insights or thoughts about higher up the hills, sort of around the moors or where the water starts to come down from Calderdale.
Thanks, Jack. That's the main part of my job actually. So the majority of the work that we do in Calderdale is on the tops, on the valley sides. So we do a quite developed natural flood management program, community-led, groups like Slow the Flow and Tree Responsibility initially got us on this road, but now there's a hell of a lot of natural flood management going on, and money is coming in to do more as well, and there's a lot of opportunity to do stuff up there.
Okay. Next question, please. This lady here.
One of the speakers mentioned Schedule 3 that had been implemented in Wales, but not in England. How is it working out in Wales?
I think Wales it's a challenge, no doubt. It's a challenge for any organisation to undertake that sad role, because you've got to skill up, and that doesn't happen overnight. And we've probably got a lack of skills out there in the sector, both from the SAB itself, but also the development sector and the engineers and designers within that. So there's a lot of learning to be done. But I think they took on all development in Wales. All development had to do subs, and I think that's proved to be quite a capacity challenge for them. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're hearing that this is a complete disaster in Wales at all. So I would say, there's lessons to be learned. There's a lot of snags to sort out, probably over 10 years. I'm just saying that. But that's the level of time it will take, I'm sure, and beyond, to try and get the change that we need. So it seems to be working quite well. Rachel.
That's roughly about what I've been hearing as well, regarding Wales. We've already implemented there's obviously in October we'll find out whether Schedule 3 in this country is going to be implemented or not. A lot of the discussions at the moment are if it is implemented, all the upskilling that's going to be required is going to take quite a long time to now embed that. If the SAB's going to be taken, if the SAB's not going to be the water industry, then how does the water industry fit into that? We're adopting SABs at the moment. Who's going to be adopting them, and where do we kind of fit in to that? At the moment, because we are able to adopt them, that's given us a little bit more of a driver to be able to have all the retrofits and to have a lot more of a say where subs are concerned, and to help to implement that where our sewer overflows are concerned as well. So that it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Okay. Robin, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Just wait for the
I was just going to ask Roger about the soil in compartments. How do you manage fertility in there? Or does that soil need replacing, replenishing in any way?
We don't envisage replacing it, but I mean that's, like a lot of these things, there's a learning to be had there, isn't there? Where we can't predict that soil's going to be there in 60 years, but I think there's, at the moment that soil's behaving itself, the plants are growing very well, it works very well. So we're not planning on replacement of the soil. I mean, obviously at some point contamination may be in many, many years, there may be an issue, hard to judge. We'll have to see. The contaminants are spread along a long length of the road, they're not concentrated in any particular area, so we'll have to see. It's heavy metal, they don't go anywhere, so they do accumulate in certain side of the road, so there is that issue. But the soil seems to be structurally working very well in terms of infiltration and so on, growth of plants.
Did you use a mulch on there? Or
no, we did. We've got a stone chip mulch on phase 1. We tried that out as a mulch. Maybe it's worked in some ways. We have been looking at potentially there's more growth sustained through the drought where it's been mulched. So we're kind of reviewing it again now as to whether we will mulch our future greater greens that we're designing at the moment. But the mulch effectively is the crushed element that's within the soil mix. It's just pure that on the surface, 75 mil.
You ready? Leg at the back there.
I'm Phoebe, I'm an engineer. It's a question for you, Roger. When you mentioned soil, did I see that you had 25% bush glass in?
Yeah, the second phase we went for sand, but we were just trying to have everything recycled. So we went for a waste crushed glass to replace the sand content.
I was just a bit surprised because I kind of just thought silicosis and kind of just thought crushed glass going into a water process actually as well. So do you see that as a contaminant?
I don't think it won't be mobilised. The way the system works, you'll not get washed through that material into the system. It's so well protected. I mean, that's how SuDS should be. I mean, the amount of water leaving the scheme is very, very low anyway. So we've not really seen any sediment movement through this, even in the most torrential storms. It's remained stable, probably because of the content of the stone is holding it quite firmly in place, the crushed stone content. But the second phase we've not gone for recycled glass, partly because it was difficult to get hold of. So we went for just as high sand content soil and the sugar beet washings again still, which has got a sand content.
So I guess you don't get soil erosion from the roots kind of thing, so you
I mean,
it's
very good. The mulch does deliver some of that benefit of erosion control, but again it's about sheet flow and controlling it. We're not putting water on in small areas from big contributing areas down slopes. That's where you've got to judge, how much contribution of area is going to SuDS, how big it is. We have got one SuDS bed that's about 80, 100 metres long. It's only 2.5 metres wide, and it's sloped. I am slightly nervous about it. because of that concentration of flow, but we will have to see. Again, it's got that highly filtrating soil, and it's under drained as well, with crushed materials below.
It works, it's a good use of recycling. So.
Yeah, it's good to do that.
Yeah. I like the why not approach as well.
The what, sorry?
Why not approach? You seem to be quite...
no, I missed that.
Why not?
Why not? Tell them why not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Evie. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor. The front.
It was mentioned earlier about one of the mitigations would be permeable roads. How are we progressing at all, if any, at the moment? Permeable roads.
Maybe, yes. Is there anything locally? I don't know.
I haven't seen anything.
I was just thinking that that would be the biggest flow of all.
Locally, I'm aware of two. There's one, there's a case study on our website which has been done by somebody that we work with at Calderdale Crags, who works with us felling trees, and he's turned his own driveway into a permeable road. And then there's one example in Mythe Road, near the community centre, and there's the houses that are sort of relatively new flats of housing that sort of overlooks the community centre. They've got permeable driveways. As far as I know, that's working well. But I'm not aware of any large-scale, council implemented.
Yeah,
it's one option. I suppose at Slow Flow we would recommend more of the green infrastructure wherever we can, because you have the additional benefits that brings with, biodiversity. And permeable roads and pavements do help to filter the water quality, but plants do a better job. And the kind of biodiversity, health, mental and physical health benefits that people outside enjoying that landscape. Permeable surfaces do have a contribution to play, and also you can dig down further and have crane storage underneath things. So absolutely, they should be about the mix. Yeah.
But you need to work on your highway authority to get them to. Well, they're either infiltration or lined. So you line them with a waterproof liner, so it's just stored in the subbase of the road below the paving, and then it leaves via a pipe out of that system. So there's different options of design.
So they can be part of a sort of management train, so you have that permeable road surface that then drains out to a swale or a rain as well, and provides that extra layer of filtration. So yeah, absolutely.
Question here.
I don't need a microphone. I really don't need a microphone. Is that you talked, Roger, about the economic driver for the Greater Green Scheme in Sheffield, and often that's the carrot, isn't it, to get development to shift and do things differently. Is there any work with Sheffield University to develop something similar to the iTree project for ice, like an ice silk project, so we could financially quantify the benefit to the environment from some schemes, which might be a really good driver, especially for the planners who are really good at sifting through things and going, don't bother.
I mentioned at the end of the talk about valuation being really important, and like a lot of people in local government, we don't necessarily have the capacity to do that. But Syria are going to be helping us do a study using BEST, which is basically a multi-value tool to assess SuDS. And they're going to test it on Greater Green in Sheffield. We've done some of it already with the university, actually, Virginia Stover, to try it first of all, but we want to do a more proper job so we can see the value of all the SuDS across the whole city centre in all ways, so to speak.
Any further questions? Gentlemen here.
I'll ask it without a microphone.
You might well be with this.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got two questions actually, if I may ask them. The first one links back to the question of roads. Rather than, I'm turning it on its head. The question was about roads that are permeable. There is a problem, I think, with permeable roads being made impermeable by surfacing, such as concrete, tarmac, where there was previously a track, for example. There's also a problem with grass lawns, plastic grass that seems to be becoming a bit of an epidemic or pandemic even. And I'm wondering what can be done from in your laws to actually. I know there's no law against it, but
there is a law.
Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should get planning permission.
Right.
If you're going to seal over your front garden, you need to get. Sorry, if you're going to seal over your front garden, you should get planning for it.
I remember that law coming in, and it's never been enforced.
I don't know one local authority where that's been brought to bear because of the old resources. Enforcement is notoriously under-resourced throughout planning departments, so it's just a really difficult one. They don't even resource the enforcement on actual planning applications that come in, let alone trying to find these abuses of planning by people sealing their front gardens.
Because I raised one in Tottenham with the town councillor, and he was not able to get anything done about it. It wasn't a plastic lawn, it was a track actually that had been surfaced, but he still wasn't able to do anything about it. Should we report it to Ben if we see these things? Can you do something about it?
Feel free to report it to me and I'll pass it to planning, but yeah, there's nothing I could do, but I could pass it on to planning, but with knowledge of the Calderdale planning department, I think it's the same problem as everywhere. I doubt anything will be done, unfortunately. It's a huge problem with driveways as well. People paving over their driveways. Yes, I don't know what to say, unfortunately.
Education, isn't it really?
Yeah.
Do we want to have
my second question?
We've got Sally here and Sally.
Could I just ask my second question?
Oh, I thought you had two goes already. By all
It's
means,
for Yorkshire Water, actually, about giving discounts for subs. Because Yorkshire Water reduces its bill if you don't put all your wastewater in the sewer. So, with combined sewers, could you, I don't suppose you do already, but could you give a discount to people who install subs?
Rachel, I think that one's for you.
I think that is for me. At the moment, we're developing our strategies for networks, and discounts, etc., are being looked into at the moment, but only on a very sort of wide, strategic, overarching approach. But all these sort of incentives are being looked into.
I believe it's done elsewhere in the country.
The lady in green, did you have a question? No, okay, right. It's Sam.
Hello everybody, I'm Sam and I'm a long-term volunteer of Solar Flow. Until SuDS become the norm, which is what we want, how in Sheffield have you tackled the effects of gentrification? So we mentioned about house prices going up, possibly existing commercial and residential entities potentially being forced out of these green spaces being implemented. Has the council done anything to support existing businesses whilst you've been implementing these new SuDS?
I was going. I suppose you're saying the word gentrification, and I've had the question asked before about changing the environment, say in regenerational areas, so it's a high quality, and you're leading to, does it cause a change in the population? I think thinking about one area I've worked in for many years, where we've done 6 SuDS schemes, and open space regeneration is part of that. I would say, yeah, the population's changed, but the population is largely, the original population is still represented in that community. Although you've got maybe a mixture of tenure of properties, some for sale, some for rental, some, council housing. That mix has really worked very well, and the regeneration of the open space with SuDS included has been part of changing the whole feel of the area positively for both the original population and for the incoming ones as well. So I know it can be a possibility. You can get these sorts of changes happening where you do shift the population out. But I don't feel we've seen that. Maybe Sheffield's very interactive in its nature of its distribution of population. We still have a west-east divide in terms of deprivation. It's massive, but the quality of the areas that are deprived is going up with the quality of housing rebuild and the quality of the open spaces. Hopefully it's a reasonable story in that respect.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Roger.
We've got a last question, and it's going to be Sally at the back there.
I think the maintenance issue is very specific to the setting, where we've actually ended up with a net reduction in maintenance. I suppose the key message is these fantastic flower beds, which everybody looks at and go, blimey, that must cost a lot. It doesn't. And I suppose it's the cost per square metre for that sort of thing. Unfortunately, we can't divulge that, but we are indicating it's actually really simplistic, the actual maintenance, and shouldn't be an issue. I think people do really need to realise that the skills in horticultural skills need to be there as well. It's just, weeding in a multiple complex mixture of perennials needs some thought. What was the other question?
Whether they were actually flooding hotspots.
Oh yeah, I did say that these are opportunities associated with the spatial scenario of the city. They've not necessarily had a water driver in that location, but we've taken the opportunity to layer up the benefits from the investment, water being one of them, to get the learning. Obviously there are cumulative benefits wherever. We're slowing the flow to the main river by diverting the flow, so there's a benefit there. We're taking a bit out of the sewer, so it doesn't need treating. So, but not necessarily, no, we're not in that area yet, and that is something, obviously, working with Yorkshire Water would be brilliant, and obviously we have our own surface water flooding risk issues associated with sewers, and that's where we want to take those skills into those areas and use the experience we've got. So that's yet to come, really.
Thank you very much indeed, panel. Thank you very much indeed, audience, as well. Who would have thought you could have such an enjoyable and informative evening talking about sustainable urban drainage? I think we've demonstrated that in spades here today. Can I ask you to share your appreciation to our panellists and our speakers this evening? They've been absolutely great in providing us with a lot of good examples, which we need now to press our councillors, our community leaders, our local authority personnel to try and get it implemented within Calderdale itself. There's some brilliant practice out there, and we shouldn't be denied actually implementing it in our own area. So if you share your appreciation in the normal way. Thank you very much.